Hi and welcome to The Winning Factor. I'm Aitken, and on this show we're trying to look for that key factor, that key ingredient to a race that identifies the winner before the event. We call it the winning factor. Well, this week on Winning Factor we're looking at National Day at Sha Tin, a big meeting with a couple of very high quality races, some of Hong Kong's best horses returning. But for our purposes, we're going to the support events, and the first one we're going to look at is race 2, the Xi'an Handicap, a class 4 over 1800 metres. Our winning factor for this race is the backup. Now, as we look across the field, this looks quite an open affair with quite a number of chances, good days, Red Elise, full of chances, and the horse that we're going to focus on, Indigenous Star. He's the horse coming back to the races quickly after his first run of the season last weekend. We're going to have a look at the video of that first run back, and this was a very strongly run race that tested the fitness of all runners. Indigenous Star was niggled along just to keep up for most of the way, then momentarily held up at the top of the straight. Now, I don't think that was so important. When you see him get clear in the final stages, he just looks to run out of condition over the final 100 metres, so I don't think he could have finished much closer. Now, what I like about him is having the benefit of that run, having a rise in distance, and the fact that Ricky Yu wants to bring him back to the races just 9 days after that start. Now, horses backing up quickly, it's a well-tried angle by many of the top trainers, and what it tells punters for free is the trainer is happy with the horse is well, healthy, he's eating, he's doing everything right, he's not carrying any injuries, and that is a big head start for us, knowing whether we want to back the horse or not. And as we look at the graphic now of backup records, we've got 5 years of results here, and Ricky Yu figures in the top 5 on strike rates for trainers backing up horses within 10 days or less. Now, not only is Ricky good at backing the horses up, but he's also following the same pattern that we saw with this same horse at the end of last season. Now, Indigenous Star had his only previous run at 1800 metres on the final day of last season, coming back 7 days after his previous run. Now, we're going to have a look at that video of the 1800 metre race, and you'll see him jump particularly well here, and then he has to be restrained by Derek Leung, or he's going to risk being caught wide from a wide gate. So he ends up going all the way back to last. Now, as we rejoin the field approaching the home turn, you'll see that Indigenous Star is right out the back, while the two horses that eventually beat him home, Midnight Promise and General Dino, are up in midfield, having several lengths head start on him. We come into the straight, and Indigenous Star issues a good challenge down the outside, following up behind Midnight Promise, but he's just had too much to do to catch them, and he runs out of puff. His run really just peaks over the final 50 or 100 metres, and he can't quite get there. The map looks much kinder this time for Indigenous Star from gate 4, not expecting a lot of pace on in the race, and he should be able to take up a much better position, maybe somewhere just behind the speed in midfield, and that should give him his opportunity to win the race. So the tip in race 2, Indigenous Star, his winning factor, the backup. I think he'll be able to find a much nicer position in the race, run out the 1800 metres right to the post, and the backup just 9 days after his last run is a really good indicator that he's going to be fit. For our second race this week, we're going to go across to race 6, a class 3 over 1600 metres, and our winning factor here is the stable change. As we look down the field, the horse who's had the stable change since he last raced is Famous Warrior, who moved from Michael Friedman to Tony Cruz. Now, last season, Famous Warrior did look like a horse who would appreciate having had a preparation here, a break, and then come back better acclimatised this season. So I think Tony Cruz is getting hold of him at the right time. This is a horse who showed good promise when he was in Australia. And as we look at the stats for the stable change horses, this is shaping up as a bumper season for stable changes. There have been 10 winners so far out of 58 horses having their first run for a new stable. And if we look at those figures down the bottom, that's more than double the long-term average. They're striking at over 17% when it's normally a tick over 8%. Now, you've seen this one before, but it's updated, and this is the graphic for our top stable change trainers. As you can see from the graphic here, which has been updated to the current season, these guys stand out when it comes to getting a horse to win first time out for the yard. Now, Tony Cruz scored at Happy Valley a couple of weeks ago with a stable transfer in Circuit Glory, and he has a great chance to do the same again with Famous Warrior. We're going to show you the video now of one of his best runs, perhaps his best run in Hong Kong, when he chased home Harmony Hero last season. And Harmony Hero is a horse that we're going to hear a lot of this season as the term progresses. Now, Famous Warrior gave Harmony Hero a start here. He didn't have the same turn of foot over 1400 metres, but he ground away to the line, found the line very strongly, and I think a key point here is that that was 1400 metres and this is a mile. I wouldn't read too much into his 2 barrier trials this season for Tony Cruz, where he's finished out of the placings. The thing is that those trials were both on the dirt, where he's never quite looked the same, Famous Warrior, and the main point to take away from them is that he's been given a really good hit out in both to make sure that he's fit first up for his mile on Monday. It isn't all plain sailing for Famous Warrior. The map doesn't have an awful lot of pace in it, as we can see here, but I think he has a little bit more to him than many of his rivals in this race. Tony Cruz will have him firing and fit because the Cruz stable is on fire at the moment with all its horses, but as you can see from our stats before, the first up runners from other yards, Tony excels with. So our tip in race 6 is Famous Warrior. His winning factor, the stable change, moving from another yard into the Tony Cruz stable that's really firing. That's it from the winning factor this week. Catch you next time.